Hey guys, Mark Russell here from CuriousCommunicator.com. Welcome to the channel where we're dedicated to helping you find tips and shortcuts to get to the next level in your communication skills as quickly and as easily as possible. Okay, topic of the day today, how to communicate more effectively. There's lots of different situations where we need to use communication. For example, there may be where you're at work and you need to get people to deliver something better than they were doing before, in which case you need to learn how to be more effective communicator in the workplace. Could be in terms of you being a parent, so you've got your children want to learn something new, something different that's going to then later benefit them in life, in which case you want to learn how to be more effective as a parent. Or it could be even in a relationship with your spouse, your husband or your wife, where you want to communicate with them to do something differently from the way they're currently doing it, in which case you need to be more effective as a communicator in a relationship. Whichever the situation is, no matter which way around it is, we always have a starting point and a finish point, and communication is the vehicle that gets us from where we are now to where we want to go in communicating with the person in that relationship, and everyone benefits from being a more effective communicator. Today I want to talk about the frustrations that come hand in hand with having to communicate with other people, how the breakdown in communication can often lead to a breakdown in relationships, which can actually ruin the experience for both you when you're communicating to the person and for them as well. And no one wants to go through life feeling stressed or feeling like they have to walk on eggshells when they're communicating with other people. So today we're going to talk about 3 tips on how to communicate more effectively, and specifically how to manage the frustration that inevitably comes in communicating with other people. Before we go any further today, I just want to do a quick shout out for a book where we've taken one of the topics out of the book and put it in today's video. So I want to do a shout out for it. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. It's a world-renowned book. It's very well researched. It's been around for about 30 years now, and it is well worth a read if you've got the time to invest in it. I'll drop a link in the description below for anyone who's interested in reading that book. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. We're going to take one of those habits. One of those habits is absolutely paramount to your success as a communicator, for your long-term success as a communicator, and we're going to discuss that later in today's video. Tip number 1 is setting realistic expectations. So whenever you're communicating with someone and you want them to move from where they are to where you want them to go, you have to be realistic in your expectations of those people. If you set your expectations too high, the people aren't going to deliver. Now, the way that you can tell this is if you need to give someone a long set of instructions or a long list of bullet points to enable them to do that job, the chances are you're already planning for them to fail. And the way you can tell is if you've got like 10 or 20 bullet points or 10 or 20 things that they need to learn or they need to do differently, then they're not going to deliver on what it is that you want them to do. What you need to do is break it down into points of 3 or 4 points at a time, which is much more manageable for people to learn. Let them learn how to do those 3 or 4 things, become proficient in those 3 or 4 things, and then give them another 3 or 4 things to do. Now, obviously, that does mean that you're not going to get the success that you wanted. You're not going to get to that end result straight away, because it's going to take 5 or 6 attempts of 3 or 4 points at a time. But it is by far the quickest way to change people's behaviour and get that success that you want. And it does it in such a way that takes away the negative points that come with communication. So that's a good practice there, is to make sure you've got realistic expectations of your people. Another point which is related to this as well is to just watch your judgments of people, because this is something that's related to realistic expectations. When you judge someone that they've been in the job for a certain amount of time, they should know how to do this because they are whatever their title is, or maybe with a child, they should know how to do this, they're 6 years old. That judgment actually stops you from trying to improve them, and you get all caught up in the reason that they're not doing it is because they're intentionally not doing it, or they're not trying hard enough, when in fact the real problem is they don't have the skill to do that job yet. So watch out for those judgments. It tends to be things like they should know how to do this, they're 5 years old, they should know how to do this, they're a manager, they should know how to do this, they're a teacher, or perhaps it's time served, they should know how to do this, they've been with the company for 5 years. Watch out for those judgments, and if you catch yourself saying those judgments, just do a little rewind and make sure that you're setting these 3 or 4 points to help that person improve in the skill, and you're going to get to that success that you want. Tip number 2, self-awareness. So self-awareness is all about coming across the way that you meant to come across. So whatever you say and whatever you do comes across the way you intended it to come across to that person. Now, if you find yourself in such a situation where perhaps you're walking away from a conversation and you feel it went something like this, then the chances are you need to work on your self-awareness. Now, whenever you communicate with people, you want to look for signs that you didn't come across the way that you intended to come across. So something you said or something you did didn't come across the way you intended it to. The person didn't react the way that you expected them to react. Then you know you need to tweak what you're doing and change it to become more effective. By doing that, every time you learn something new, you're going to make your communication more effective, which means that people are going to react the way you expect them to react, and you're going to get people from where they are to where you want them to be much, much quicker. You're also going to avoid those situations where the conversation blows up, everything breaks down, communication breaks down, relationships break down, and everything just ends up in a big mess, which is obviously going to be detrimental to your long-term success as a communicator. So watch out for that. Self-awareness, tip number 2, self-awareness, big part of communication. Okay, tip number 3. To look at this one, we're going to go a little bit more long-term. So this is about your long-term success as a communicator. To go through this point, we've got to go back to what I talked about at the start, about the 7 habits of highly successful people. There was one habit in there that was absolutely paramount to your success as a communicator long-term. That habit is called Think Win-Win, and it's illustrated in the book by the story of the goose that laid the golden egg. So if the goose is fed and loved, it will continue to produce golden eggs for its owner. If the goose is fed but not loved, it will stay alive but it won't produce the eggs. If it's loved but not fed, obviously the goose dies. So how does this translate into the world of communication? So in communication, we're looking at fairness and respect. If you don't treat people fairly, they're not going to produce the results that you want them to produce, the golden egg. If you don't treat people with respect, that relationship's going to break down to the point that it doesn't exist anymore, or it's a very negative relationship and it might as well not exist anymore. Okay, so that's the 3rd tip of the day. Think win-win, super important to your long-term success, and can make a huge difference over a long span of time on how effective you are as a communicator and what results you can actually produce. Okay, so let's have a quick recap on what we've discussed today. So first of all, we covered about setting realistic expectations. That was making sure that what you're asking people to achieve is close to what they're already doing. If you're not doing that, the chances are you are planning for them to fail. Tip number 2 today was about self-awareness, making sure you come across in a way that you intend to come across. So what you say and what you do gets the reaction from people that you expect, and how obviously being better at self-awareness helps you avoid those harmful blow-up situations. Tip number 3 today was create those think win-win, create those win-win situations. We talked about fairness and respect and the importance of those in communication. Now, no matter what's happening in people's lives, we all have issues, we all have our problems, we all have things that frustrate us. But when you drill into it, when you dig down deep, most of those issues are people-related issues, and specifically in the way people behave. Now, by learning to manage your frustrations better and using the 3 tips we discussed today, it's going to ensure that not only can you get to where you want to go quickly, you can also be a lot more satisfied in the way that you do it too, and be a lot more successful in what you do. I hope you've enjoyed the video and you find the points we've discussed today useful. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button. And if you want to learn more about communication, subscribe to the channel. That's it for today, guys. See you in the next video.